recording as well. All right.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We are so excited to have you all here to learn with us over the next 2 days, whether you can be here just for some of the sessions or all of the sessions. We thank you for your time. My name is Maria Rodriguez. I'm the Education Associate at the Delaware Department of Education for Multilingual Learners. And it's so great to see so many familiar faces and names this morning popping in. We keep letting people in, and we're almost at 200 people this morning for our opening session. I'm very excited to kick off Delaware's 5th annual Multilingual Learner Conference. It's hard to believe that we started this conference in 2021 as a way to support educators during the pandemic, and it has continued to grow each year. This conference began with what seemed like a crazy idea. In a crazy time and a hope that Delaware educators would show up with a passion for learning and supporting our multilingual students. Boy, were we surprised when we were able to gather nearly 400 participants that year. So naturally, we decided to continue. There was clearly an interest in coming together to learn and grow our muscles to ensure the success of our multilingual learners. Each year, this conference has continued to expand and has become one of the most well-attended conferences in the state. This year's participants can select from 20 live sessions, 2 keynotes, and another set of pre-recorded sessions. These unique sessions range from supporting our talented and gifted multilingual learners to the effective use of cross-functional teams, to AI, mathematics, literacy, and more. I'm especially excited this year because while we have national and international experts presenting, many sessions are being hosted by our very own talented Delaware educators. This is a true testament to the work that these folks have taken based on their learning and experiences. The conference theme this year is Building Bridges Towards Collaboration, Coherence, and Community. The educators and presenters you will have a chance to hear from and learn from over the course of the next 2 days have embraced this mission and are working actively to do what we know must be done to continue to improve outcomes for Delaware's multilingual learners. These folks are collaborating in spaces where it didn't seem possible. They have found themselves a seat at the table and are now being invited to the group. Their work is building coherence across all areas of their learning environments and across the community. As you lean into your learning over the next 2 days, I urge you to think about your role and how you can take action and build a bridge. Each of us plays a very important role in continuing to advance the educational system for our multilingual students. Find your action as you engage and learn from one another. Consider how you can find a collaborator, no matter how big or small, build coherence in your system, and more broadly engage your community. Today, more than ever, we must elevate the assets that our multilingual students and families bring to our school communities, while ensuring that in Delaware, we are providing the highest quality learning environments. In partnership, our students can and will achieve. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the rest of the conference team, the amazing Carrie Knight, who many of you know, and Melissa Lambert, who has helped us and supported us in building this conference each year. Both of these ladies have worked tirelessly to make this year's conference a success, and I hope you'll agree that it is. Melissa will now get us started with a land acknowledgement.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. This updated land acknowledgement is also a language acknowledgement for those who seek to honor the Lenape people, language revitalization, and the territory preceding our event on Lenape Hoking. The land upon which we gather is part of the traditional territory of the Lenni Lenape called Lenape Hoking. The Lenape people lived in harmony with one another upon this territory for thousands of years. During the colonial era and the early federal period, many were removed west and north, but some remain here among the continuing historical tribal communities of the region, the Nanticoke Lenni Lenape Tribal Nation, the Ramapo Lenape Nation, and the Powhatan Lenape Nation, the Nanticoke of Millsboro, Delaware, and the Lenape of Cheswold, Delaware. We acknowledge the Lenni Lenape as the original people of this land, speakers of the rich language, and their continuing relationship with their territory. Our acknowledgement of the continued presence of the Lenape people in their homeland, we affirm the aspiration that there be harmony between indigenous people of this land and the descendants and immigrants of this land. As long as the rivers and the creeks flow, and the sun and the moon and the stars shine. We honor all of the language, and as people of the Tidewater, we want to highlight our wonderful colleague who spoke at the conference last year and their beautiful book, which is a children's book. Once it has been spoken, it cannot be unspoken. Very, very important piece of culturally and linguistically relevant literature right here, created locally in the state of Delaware. Thank you.
So as Maria said, this is our 5th annual conference, and it's so hard to believe that 5 years have gone by. Every year our conference has grown, and we are so excited that you're here to join us for 2 full days of learning. Today, we are going to hear from the Department of Education's new secretary, Cindy Martin, and Maria and I are going to give you some updates about the state of Delaware and our multilingual learner population. We're going to spend some time reflecting on the year and really thinking about how we're going to bridge the work that we've done thus far with the work that still needs to happen to really improve outcomes for our multilingual learners. We're going to spend just a bit of time sharing an overview of the day and some logistics to make sure everyone has the most productive 2 days of learning possible. And we are super grateful for your presence, what you do every day to support Delaware's multilingual learners. Maria is now going to share with you some others that we are super grateful for.
We'd just like to take a moment to thank our event sponsors that have made this conference and our pre-conference event possible. So all of the folks you see here on the screen have made donations and supported us on this journey. And also want to call out Delta. If you check out that QR code, Delta, we held a fundraiser on March 19th for Delta in coordination with the department, and Montserrat did a wonderful job sharing in her wealth of knowledge with us. And through that, we've been able to gain some momentum to support the Amanda Sapp Parisi Scholarship Fund, which, if you're not aware and you don't know Delta, there was a lunch session today where you can learn more about Delta. But the Amanda Sapp Parisi Scholarship Fund provides funds to students who are former or current multilingual learners who are continuing their education after high school. So if you don't know about that and you'd like to learn more, visit that link as well. And now a message from our Secretary of Education.
I am thrilled to welcome you to Delaware's 5th annual Multilingual Learner Conference. Over the next 2 days, you all will have an opportunity to engage in sessions with national experts and learn from your peers. By joining this conference, you are demonstrating your strong commitment to shared responsibility for ensuring success for Delaware's multilingual learners. Delaware schools are home to nearly 19,000 multilingual learners who speak over 100 different languages. This number has continued to grow each year, and Delaware has been cited as one of the fastest growing states in the nation for this population of students. As the conference theme suggests, it's essential that we continue to work together to build bridges towards coherence, collaboration, and community in order to ensure that Delaware students receive the best education possible and one that is meeting their cultural and linguistic needs. As you're all probably aware, one of my first actions as Delaware Secretary of Education was to release immigration guidance to reassure our community and reaffirm Delaware's commitment to educating all students. While many of Delaware's multilingual learners are not part of the immigrant community, the current landscape impacts many of these students and their families in a myriad of ways. It's our job as educators to stay the course. As educators, we carry the best interest of all of our students in the work that we do each day. This work is guided by the Multilingual Learner Strategic Plan, a document that, among other things, outlines 4 core values: multilingualism as an asset, collaboration among partners, diversity among multilingual learners and their experience, and responsiveness to a shifting cultural landscape.
Melissa, I think it went quiet. Sorry about this. I don't know what happened. The audio is out.
Fiscal year 2026, rising to a total of 66.8 million. These flexible funds allow each school to target resources directly to enhance the educational experience for our multilingual students and families. As we talk as a state about a new funding formula, it is critical that we ensure our funding formula reflects the different needs of all of our different learners. And as you engage in this year's conference sessions, consider how some of your learning can translate into increased outcomes for our multilingual learners. We know that when we get it right for our multilingual learners, they are uniquely positioned to navigate their futures with the skills necessary to succeed.
So thank you to our secretary for recording that message. As you can imagine, she's very busy these days, running around and getting to know our state and involved in a lot of great work that's happening and responding to things that are happening outside of our context as well. So we thank her for taking the time to record that message for us. And she sends her regrets for not being able to physically be present with us this morning. You heard her use the term multilingual learners, and you obviously signed up for a conference that talks about multilingual learners, but we'd like to just take a moment to make sure that we understand when we're using that term, we are making a very intentional choice here in Delaware to shift our language to recognize the assets of our learners and what they bring with them. So you may still continue to see the term English learner used in state and federal guidance, and this is because the federal government continues to use that term within their policies. But here in Delaware, we've shifted to trying to use the term multilingual learner as often as possible to honor what our students are bringing with them into our schools and communities. Carrie's going to tell us a little bit about that growth that the secretary was just discussing.
Thank you. So if you visit any school, district, or charter around the state, you're going to see multilingual learners. And those numbers have really been increasing exponentially. On this chart, you can see how we have grown almost 80% in the last 10 years. So you can see unprecedented growth there. And if we look at this a different way on the next slide, this is just a different way to kind of view our numbers. We might be small, right? But we are mighty in Delaware. And we have almost 19,000 students who are currently identified as multilingual learners. That means more than 13% of Delaware students are learning English as an additional language. And another 8,000 are former English learners. So in total, that puts 18% of our students with a home language in addition to English, right? So in Delaware, we're super small, but we definitely are mighty. We're very diverse. And historically, the students, our students in Delaware were born here in the US, most right here, even in Delaware, but our newcomer population is continuing to grow over the last several years. And I want to take a look at the next slide just to show you a little bit about the different languages that are spoken across Delaware. Because the language that's spoken in your district or charter or your county may be a bit different than others in the state. So it's always good to have this larger picture, this larger view of the whole state. And obviously we can see that Spanish is still our top language, but that percentage is continuing to go down as we diversify in languages. Our second top language is Haitian Creole, followed by Arabic. And then coming in kind of in a tie are Turkish, Telugu, Vietnamese, and Portuguese. And even though Spanish is still our most spoken language, we're really proud of the diversity in our state, which includes 100 different languages. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you, this is one of my favorite slides of all time to really share with people because we are constantly changing this. We're constantly adding new languages as new students come to our state. And our students bring so much diversity to enrich both our classrooms and our communities. So I'll give you just a second to sit with that. See if you can find some languages on there that are represented in your school district, your charter, your county. And perhaps there's some that aren't even on that chart yet. We have new students moving into Delaware all of the time. It's a great place to be, a great place for education for multilingual learners. And so that those languages are changing constantly. I try to keep it updated as best as I can, but they're changing right before our very eyes. If you have any other languages that are represented in your school district or charter that aren't on that list, you can feel free to drop them in the chat. And we'll continue updating that using the data that we receive over the next couple months. We always update it so that you have the most available languages in the state of Delaware. On the next slide, we're going to take a look at Delaware's Multilingual Learner Strategic Plan. So over the next 2 days, you're going to get a chance to engage in many sessions. I think like Maria said, we have 20 sessions that are happening live. We also have some pre-recorded sessions, and all of those sessions align to Delaware's Multilingual Learner Strategic Plan. We heard the secretary mention that plan in her opening video. So just a little bit of background about this. We, in 2023, worked with a steering committee. That steering committee was made up of teachers, coaches, administrators, community members, members of our institutes of higher education, our universities, and we even had parent and student members. So this particular steering committee came together over the course of many months, and we met to read through the most current research in educating multilingual learners and working with their families. We read through that research. We really started to engage in discussions around what our core values were. And we asked ourselves, what are some of those priority areas in multilingual learner education? And those questions, the answers to those questions and the reflections that we had really worked to drive our plan development. And as part of this work, we also engaged with focus groups. And I have to say, I've mentioned this before, this was one of my favorite parts. We got a chance to work with parents, we conducted parent surveys, and we also got a chance to hear right from the mouths of our Delaware students. And we took all of this information and we kind of gathered it together, we put it back together, we synthesized it, and that has become part of what you will see as today's Multilingual Learner Strategic Plan. So this work has really become kind of a roadmap for transforming multilingual learner education in Delaware. And it's informed by the most current research, and it's aligned with that asset orientation that Maria was talking about. Now, Delaware's Multilingual Learner Strategic Plan is currently available on our website, or you can use the QR code right there. It's available in the top 8 languages. And now Maria is going to tell you a little bit more about Delaware's strategic plan, including our core values that really help set the tone for that plan.
Thanks, Carrie. So this plan has these 4 core values that are outlined here. And the secretary also spoke to as she was giving her welcome today. So we really dug in as a group, and this is what bubbled to the top. Multilingualism as an asset. For far too long, our students have been viewed as though they are coming into our schools with a deficit that needs to be fixed. We want to transform and change that direction, that ideology, and the messaging that comes along with it. Our students come to us with a valuable language background, and it is a wonderful asset that once we can build upon and support them in their English learning journey, they will become the most impactful students in our schools and our community. We recognize that we need to collaborate with our partners, and you'll see that theme throughout this conference, through all of the sessions that you attend, and hear more about how our Delo educators are enacting this core value and collaborating in new spaces and beyond places that they thought that they would be able to. This is necessary for our students to succeed. We cannot work in silos and be single-handedly attempting to do this important work. We must work together with our partners in our school community and our broader community. We also need to recognize that our students are incredibly diverse, not only in who they are and what they bring, but in their experiences, whether that's their experience in their home country, in their journey to our school systems, or just in how they engage with our school settings. Each of them is unique, and we must continue to recognize that and shift our practices to meet their needs. That brings us to this last one. We recognize that that we need to be responsive, that the cultural landscape continues to shift, whether that be at the political level, the state level, or in our communities. Each and every day we're faced with new challenges and new opportunities, and we need to be shifting how we function, how we work, what our policies look like to meet the needs of what is coming. We know our students need to be well positioned for whatever the future holds for them. And that is our responsibility to continue to reflect on our practices and respond appropriately as the landscape shifts over time. We also have 4 priority areas outlined in the plan. This is where you can find the more traditional sort of action steps that we're going to take and that we've been taking collectively as a state to support the advancement of multilingual education. So that first priority really focuses on a coherent policy system and program that supports multilingualism, that we need to be advocating to pushing ourselves and all of the systems in the right direction. Priority 2, that we need to build the capacity of all of our educators. So you being here today is one of those ways that we continue to work to build the capacity. Hopefully you invited a friend, and if they couldn't be here, you're sharing recordings. All of that is in service of trying to make sure that every educator that's in a Delaware classroom has the capacity to center our multilingual learners and how they are working with them. Priority 3, developing a shared awareness of the value of multilingualism, helping everybody from the person at a checkout in a store, to the business owner, to the politician, to the educator, to the front office staff, to our bus drivers, to understand that our students have a wonderful language that they bring, and that there's a value in having more than one language. This is also going to be showcased in our May 17th multilingual showcase, not just learner, because this is a collaborative effort with our world language and DLI colleagues to really build up the understanding of how amazing it is for our students to be multilingual and why it is necessary for their future. Priority 4 really centers around improving those daily experiences for our students and their families so that our students can be successful in whatever their post-secondary endeavors are. We urge you to take a look back at the plan more comprehensively to really understand this direction and where you fit into making it possible. So now I ask you, how can educators help increase outcomes for multilingual learners? I want you just to take a moment to think about that and center yourself in that as we go into the next several days. I'm going to give you also a few ideas of ways that we've told others to do this. So you play a role. Build that shared awareness of the value of multilingualism. Confront it when you hear those deficit words. Collaborate among your partners, share the plan, engage in discussions around how we can improve the educational experiences of our multilingual learners and families. Engage all educators. So this is an opportunity, but there are many other ways that you can share the professional learning that's happening across the state to support their multilingual learners, whether that's content educators, administrators, paraprofessionals. Review your policies. If you sit in a space where you have influence on your policies of your school system or other policies that are impacting, or you sit on a leadership team, your programs, how do or don't they promote multilingualism? And if they're not yet promoting it, how can we embed that in what we are doing? And then finally, reviewing resource allocation. If you are in a space where you have the ability to influence these decisions, think about how are those resources allocated specifically to support our multilingual students and families? How are we braiding the funds and the resources that we have to do so? Or making sure that when we do allocate money, that we are thinking about how this will impact our multilingual learners.
Wonderful.
Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We have a digital virtual photo booth. So if you're attending today in a group, it's so great to see your group photos. It's so great to see your individual photos when you're just thinking like, wow, I really learned something amazing. Take a little selfie here and upload it to the gallery. And we'll be at different points throughout the next 2 days, we'll be showing how that gallery is being updated. And it's just really nice way to connect, right? So this is one way. We're also going to have lunch and learns later today, so please join that. And as often as possible, we'll have opportunities for you to be talking to one another, making connections, and building bridges. So the link to the photo booth is in the chat, and we will post this slide periodically so you can grab the QR code as well. Very cool.
All right, so I'm going to take you through some logistics and housekeeping. This is my specialty area. I like to be very organized. So hopefully this will help you over the next 2 days to get the most out of our conference. So the first thing we're going to start with is our Padlet. Now, I will tell you, I already dropped a link to a Padlet, but that's a different one. Maria mentioned the multilingual showcase that's coming up in May, so I wanted you to have that link. But now I'm actually going to give you the link for our Padlet for the conference. And actually, this is more than just our conference Padlet. Let me drop this and then I can chat. I can't do 2 things at once. Here we go. Actually, I can do lots of things at once, right? That's what educators do. But our Padlet is more than just the conference Padlet. It is actually a place where you can find everything and anything multilingual learner. So we have tons of previous year's conference sessions. Like Melissa and Maria both mentioned, this is the 5th annual conference. So we have all of our sessions and recordings on there from the last 4 years. And we'll continue to post more about these sessions as our conference wraps up. So this is kind of like your one-stop shop for everything Delaware multilingual learners. Lots of learning in there as well, in addition to the conference recordings. But I did want to just explain to you a little bit about the Padlet for this particular conference, because the first 3 columns in Padlet are dedicated to this year's conference. So the first column contains all of the launch pad and the logistics that you need for the next 2 days. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the launch pad in just a second, but you can find the launch pad there at any given time. If you're like, I can't find that document, there's too many things in my email, you go right to the Padlet and it's there. In addition, there's also information about the conference and the sessions so that you can check that out in the Padlet. Our second column is going to be dedicated to a place for you to add pictures, images, bridge puns, bridge jokes, anything you can think of that has to do with bridging towards collaboration, coherence, and community. Anything reference to bridges and education. We've already seen some people dropping things in there, quotes and images. So we will take any of those bridge ideas in that second column. Feel free to drop those in at any time during the conference. And then that third column is dedicated to our pre-recorded sessions. So we had several presenters as part of our Teacher Leader Academy, which you're going to hear about later, as well as some national presenters who couldn't maybe be with us live and in person for one of those sessions, but chose to do a pre-recorded session so that you can still take advantage of all of the great offerings that they have. Lots of great topics contained there, topics around the science of reading and MTSS, also topics related to using high quality instructional materials and how we support our multilingual learners. So lots of sessions. We're continuing to drop sessions in there as well. So we still have more pre-recorded sessions that we're continuing to add, and they will be in that column. And then after the conference, we will continue to add the recordings for these particular sessions. All right, so that's our Padlet, and you can find that anytime as your one-stop shop. On the next slide, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Launchpad. So obviously, if you're here, you found a way to our Launchpad because you made it. But one thing that we wanted to share with you is that each session that you attend today, whether it's a keynote address or a networking lunch and learn, or one of our sessions in the afternoon today or tomorrow, each session has its own unique link. So you're going to have to log out of each session and log back in. So we tried to put in a little bit of break time so that you have some transition time to get from one thing to the next, but you will have to actually log out of your Zoom and then use the Launchpad to connect to your sessions link. One of the other things I wanted to remind you is that some of those links have passwords. So sometimes when our presenters were sharing with us, the way that their platforms were set up, it required a passcode. If that passcode is required, it is on that session Launchpad right under the session link. So click the link, enter your password, and you should be good to go. All right, so that's our Launchpad. Let me check to see if there's any questions in the chat. Nope, it sounds like everybody has figured that out because you have made it here. So when we get ready to end this session a little bit later at 10:30, you're going to want to log out and then come back for our keynote address, which we'll tell you a little bit more about in just a minute. Okay. On the next slide, I wanted to take a minute to tell you a little bit about how we are going to assign clock hour credit for this. It's always a big question that comes up. I've already had some emails and some messages that said, can we get clock hour credits for this? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You are going to receive all of the information that you need after the conference is over. So it is not going to come until after our sessions wrap up on Thursday. But you can earn clock hour credit for each session that you attend, and the document that you're going to get in that email is really just for you. If you're a PDMS user, it's really just for your own reference, for you to be able to check off the sessions that you attended. Once you've done that, you're going to get information on how to get into PDMS and actually self-register for the sessions that you attended. Okay, so that will be available after this conference is over in an email. You'll get all of the details that you need. So PDMS users will go into PDMS. They'll select the sessions. You do not need to return this form if you're a PDMS user. You'll just simply select the sessions that you participated in. And then when our time period is up, which is April 30th, and everybody's had a chance to do that, then we will close it out and we will assign all of the clock hour credit. If for some reason you are not a PDMS user, you are in a different location or you're a member of our community, but you still want to get clock hour credits for being here, or you still want to get some kind of recognition for being here to show your employer, we do have that capacity as well, and that will be built into the email that you receive with all of the directions. So there'll essentially be two different types of directions, one for PDMS users, one for people who are not PDMS users, but you still get the same amount of credit, and we can assign a certificate if you are a non-PDMS user. Just keep in mind when you look at that, the slide that's showing, you can see the different colors. Those colors indicate sessions that are running concurrently, which means you can't sign up for more than one session. So when you enter yourself into PDMS or when you return that paper, if you're a non-PDMS user, you're only going to select one within each color block. The white are kind of self-standing. That's our keynotes and our opening and closing sessions. So you can select as many of those as you want because they run at different times. But within those color blocks, you're only going to choose one. Okay, if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us or you can drop them in the chat and we will get those answered for you as well. All right, I think that's all the logistics, and I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa to tell you about our fantastic Multilingual Learner Teacher Leader Academy.
Oh, everyone, it was such an honor this year to be part of the Multilingual Learner Teacher Leader Academy, and the participants in this were just incredible. There were, of course, over 15 districts and charters. The focus really was collaboration, coherence, and community. And what's so exciting was that of these 30 teachers, you will see many of their works of art during the course of the conference. Some are pre-recorded, some will be presenting live. It's just such a great experience in so many ways. A little bit about what we did during the incredible 8 sessions total, 7 live, some virtual, and we often started out with a collection of current research and talked about those implications to our work. Some of the research that we looked at came right out of Delaware, right? If you know already how important the spillover effect, the newly arrived English learners report from the RAND organization was really highlights how newcomer multilingual learners actually enhanced developing multilingual learners or multilingual learners who are currently identified as English learners, and did not negatively affect monolingual learners, right? So this is all parts and ways that we're interrupting the deficit narrative. And right here in your beautiful state of Delaware. We also shared multi-tiered systems of supports for multilingual learners, and that wonderful work by Julie Brown, and she actually has been a presenter with Delaware in the past as well. And English learners in Chicago Public Schools highlighting a secondary cohort and finding amazing results and growth there. So just some things that we wanted to share, and we often started the Teacher Leader Academy off with that. Here's at a glance of all the meetings that we had, and you can see this midway through, it was a great opportunity to bring your leader with you. So many teacher leaders brought their site leaders and district leaders with them, and we had deep conversations about that cross-functional relationship and tiered relationship, right? Like what we're doing as multilingual learner specialists and teachers and core and content teachers really needs to be coupled with what we're doing at the leadership level. So we looked at data, we had great and deep conversations about how do we look at data differently in order to shift systems and really think deeply about what we're doing to highlight collaborative leadership. We looked at a collective problem of practice. When we think about multilingual learners in Delaware, we know that English learner is a temporary status. So how are we fostering reclassification consistently? And it should seem easy, right? We get students in, we give them services, a screener, and after 3 to 5 years, they exit and we have RFEP, right? Reclassified students. But what we found was when we worked together, we actually mapped a very different picture, right? And the way we looked at this all came from a collective brainstorm, and we really mapped what reclassification journey actually looks like, right? And so if you think about this as the columns at the top, 5 columns. In the first column, a student enters the system, they have all of the work that is required for screeners. You have the home language survey. In column 2, you get the language assessments. In 3, it's like, okay, placement and ongoing assessment. Step 4, your instructional program. Step 5, exiting and monitoring criteria. Then you're going back to general education, or you're going into the mainstream, right, as a reclassified student. What we found in this deep, incredibly powerful conversation was that most of the time in our systems in education, we do really well with these first 2 steps. It's after that things become inconsistent, muddied, and really have a challenging systemic effect on reclassification for multilingual learners. So this really became our problem of practice. We looked specifically at how HQIM and English language development intersect, and how MTSS and multilingual learners and ELD intersect, and how we can leverage those components. So this was year 1. We're hopeful for a year 2, and that's what we're really pushing for. Ultimately is who's at the table, right? Who's at the planning table? How are we getting together so that we're focusing ELD, monolingual mainstream, your math, your ELA coaches? How is everybody working together with leadership towards coherence? We've also talked a lot about this, gets a lot of traction when we have the conversation that we don't just say collaborate, right? We have to understand where we are on the collaboration spectrum, and really think about how we are literally changing the things that we do based on the communication and the collaboration that we have with others. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. So I see a couple of questions and requests for this presentation. I do believe we intend to put it in the Padlet for folks to be able to reference back. So just to answer to that, as my chat moves along quickly. So as we get ready for our 2 days of learning, just wanted to give you a quick overview of today. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to dig into the Padlet and and select your sessions. If you take a look at this, we will be in just a few moments moving into a break to allow you to stretch and get ready for an engaging keynote that will begin promptly at 11 o'clock with Andrea Honningsfeld. If you don't know Andrea Honningsfeld's work or her as a person, you're in for a real treat. She is an absolute sweetheart who I am always impressed, first and foremost, with her, not only as a professional in her work and the studies she does and her publishing, but as an individual who is always willing to engage alongside. If you've ever had a chance to attend a national conference with Andrea Honningsfeld, you'll see her sitting in the audience as a regular participant in any and all sessions, engaging and learning, which I think is so valuable. All of us have something to learn. All of us can continue to improve. And Andrea is a testament to that in the way that she continues to learn, regardless of the fact that we are all reading her texts and engaging with her. She continues to find something new in every session and learning. So that will happen at 11 o'clock. From 12 to 1, there's a lunch and learn session with Delta, where you can learn more about Delta's work, their upcoming membership meeting, and how you can get involved. And then in the afternoon from 1 to 2, there are afternoon sessions running. And then again from 2:30 to 3:30, there are sessions running. You have 13 different sessions to choose from. I know that is sometimes difficult and we might have some FOMO. So we do try to record as many sessions as we are able to. Some presenters would rather not be recorded, or there are copyright issues that bar them from being able to do so. But in as many instances as possible, we will attempt to be recording and posting the sessions, as Carrie said. So if you make a choice and you are fearful of missing out on something else, make sure that you're checking back to look for those recordings in the coming weeks. There is a question that if you've changed your mind on your session, it is not too late. You can shift. We try to get an approximate number for our presenters, but recognize maybe you didn't have a chance to get in and register for and select sessions. That's okay. The link will still work for you if you decide to change your mind today, or there's something new different on there that caught your eye. There's also a question coming in if any of the sessions are capped. We should not have an issue with that today at all. Are there any other logistical questions about today that we can make sure that you are aware of before we do anything else? I think Melissa and I have one other piece for us before we roll, but want to make sure that we are answering any of those logistical questions that you might have before we move forward.
Yeah, we do have just a sort of an ending question before you take your stretch break and meet us back at 11. Making sure, of course, that you know how to locate the launch pad and you know how to locate all of those links, all very important for the success of today. But what are you looking forward to the most? What's really resonating with you as you're thinking about, as you glance at the Padlet and you've already registered for some sessions? Is there something that you're really looking forward to? Drop it in the chat. We're interested to hear. Yes, I am too. Yes, seeing the familiar faces is so amazing. It's so
It's so
great.
true. Every year when I see everybody roll in, I get excited.
Oh, Francisco is amazing. You're going to love the keynote for tomorrow. Francisco Villegas is like what a gem. He has incredible insights and is ready to share for sure. Yes, keynote. Yay. Oh, he'll be so happy. Formative practice, absolutely. Yep, connections. This is great. Collaboration time. Yes.
Seeing your colleagues presenting, it is wonderful, but
So powerful.
especially this year, we have so many wonderful Delaware educators that are sharing where they've been, what their journey has been like, and how they got to where they are. We all recognize again that we are all learning together and we are trying to continue to advance this work. So learn from your colleagues. Take time over the next 2 days as we engage on the Padlet, engage in other ways with your colleagues through the networking sessions and these openings and closings to really get to know one another, make a new friend, maybe on the other end of the state who you can lean on and ask questions of and support one another.
Yes.
I'm
It's
gonna capture
elevating.
all of this chat. It is wonderful to
It really
see.
is. It really is. This is great.
We did have one quick question that came in about the Padlet and the ability to be able to add to the Padlet. And so if you're not an administrator, you have to do it as a comment. So I did just put something in the Padlet that said, add your comments here. Or you can connect to one of the other quotes that's already there where we have places for the bridge quotes and the puns and the pictures or songs. And if you have them in the chat, we can get them over into the Padlet for you. But you'll have to comment instead of using the plus sign to actually add something. Sorry, just a little logistical.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Absolutely. Please make sure that you are giving us your song ideas, your bridge songs, because if you've been in our conference in the past, you know that you will not be without puns and songs related to bridges for the next 2 days. So help us be as corny as possible and give us some great ideas by entering those into the Padlet for us. And you may just, in fact, see one of your bridge puns show up over the next couple of days. Here we go. Thank you, Eve. Looking forward to designing and constructing bridges.
So
I know the
wonderful.
suspense has been building.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Thank you so much for adding your comments to the chat. A few are still coming in, but this is a good moment to stretch and hydrate. Go to that Padlet. Make sure you can log into everything there. Take some selfies. Maybe you could do before and after selfies for the photo booth. Bridge over troubled waters. Absolutely, Gregory. There is no question there. Wow, this is fantastic. Wonderful. All right, everyone, we will see you back at 11 a.m. for a keynote address featuring Dr. Andrea Honningsfeld.
We'll see you there. Take this time to get in that Padlet and provide your ideas and comments and engage with one another before we get started.
See you soon, Jenny.
I love that, Belinda. That's funny.
So good. That is good. Wonderful. Right.
Oh, Beth, if you're still on, I'm definitely a Fourth Wing series girl. I just finished the third book last night and I was devastated that
Oh,
it's over.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. And I'm really, really sad that the other one won't be out for a long time.
I
I'm gonna
know.
find something else.
I'm writing it down. Wonderful. All right.
Hey, Carrie, it's Lauren. I sent you a little message in the chat, if you see it.
Yes, I'm going to email you.
Okay,
Is that
thank you.
okay? You're welcome.
See you later, bye.
Thanks, Lauren. All right, thank you, everyone.
Oh, we got one more thing. Thank you all. We will see you for the keynote in just over half an hour.